And today I would like to start with a prayer for the children. So Shmuel and the CFOIC have 4 projects which you can sponsor a child. There it is, I think. Yep. And so it's about children, therapy for children, shopping to help the families with the children, playtime help, and a pizza dinner, which is always for the kids. But on Friday night, just on Shabbat in Melbourne, about 20 people, including the children, were inside having a Shabbat in the synagogue. And the building is the East Melbourne Synagogue. And the Home Affairs Minister, Tony Burke, said they should condemn the attack. The community was harmed because the Jewish community is together in one. And when anything affects them, it does affect us as a nation. And he declared also that it was a reprehensible anti-Semitic attack, that they've turned their chant now to call to death to the IDF, which is just atrocious. But in the situation, that one of the families, the young 13-year-old boy, heard the knocking.
Thank you.
Looked on the security to recognize that it didn't look very good. He was watching the security monitors and he realized and sensed something wasn't right, and he didn't open the door. So I think it's excellent that we can give praise to the children, and we have been praying for our under 25s for a few months now. So Psalm 21 says, "Behold, children are a heritage of Adonai. The fruit of the womb is a reward. As arrows in the hands of a mighty man, so are the children of one's youth. Happy is the man whose quiver is full of them. They will not be put to shame when they speak with their enemies at the gates." So we just thank you, Hashem, that you are looking after the children. They are such a vital part of our generation. They are upcoming leaders. They're our potential for the future. And Lord, I ask you to bless them and give them the wisdom that this young 13-year-old had to understand that there's danger, but that you are sovereign in all of this. Give them peace and to give them security in the name of Hashem. Praise you, Lord. Amen. Over to you now, Shmuel, with lots of things to tell us, lots of updates.
Thank you, Pam. Thank you. So, yes, indeed, I have a lot of updates. I think we met last time 2 weeks ago, and it was in the midst of a war. And right now, we can safely say the biggest challenge, the biggest obstacle, the biggest fear that Israelis had in the last years with Iran is gone. The way it looks right now, whether the nuclear facility that completely destroyed or just half destroyed, I don't know exactly. I don't think anybody knows other than the Mossad people that were there, according to President Trump. And really, nobody knows what happened there. But I wanted to start off by saying that as an Israeli, I can share that people in the streets are more relaxed. Sarah, I don't know, maybe she's going to approve that. It's a sense that, there's a fear here, right? There's a lot of things going on in Israel throughout the years, but there was something all the time here. It was the nuclear power that Iran has against us. And we were fearful. We were. Missiles, ballistic missiles, and you saw the damages. And what our news and our reporters and the IDF told us of how it's going to look, the war, it was really something that nobody wished to see. With all due respect to the belief and all the respect that we have that God has us, but this is a disaster. And the fear of the disaster was something that no Israeli wanted to face. And the truth that it started all the way before that with Hezbollah. we had the same sense. The word in Israel was, okay, Hamas, it's, yeah, but they're here and it's not such a big deal. Hezbollah, oh, they have hundreds and thousands of missiles. And Iran, oh, they have nuclear power, they have ballistic missiles, it's the end. You know, in Israel, they have like the worst case scenarios. They always trying to tell you what's the worst case. And to if you're used to the worst case, anything that's less than that is not so bad. Right? If you are ready and prepared for the worst, everything that comes that's not gonna be so bad, you're gonna say, okay, it's fine. And I think the story of Iran, the 12 days war, as it will be remembered, was something that even in our most positive imagination, we couldn't imagine it will go down the way it went down. Nothing. I mean, there were a couple of missiles that fell in Israel. There are the dozens of people that were killed, but look at what we were expecting to happen. In our mind, it was supposed to be half of Israel will be destroyed. The scenarios talked about tarchish alata. Tarchish alata, I don't know how to say it in English, but basically it says that the first missile is going to hit the power and the energy of the electricity in Israel. And it means that Israel needs to face 2 weeks without electricity. You need to understand what it means. It means at your own home, of course, nothing is going to work. You have no lights. You have no water pumps. Everything is electrician as well. Hospitals, people that are connected to machines, you know, for life, it's always going to be gone. I mean, in the beginning, there will be some generators, and then the fuel is going to be finished. That was what we had in mind. People hold in their homes boxes of food and supplies and batteries for 2 weeks. I must say that we are a bit bad in that because we were prepared at the beginning of the war, and then as the war continued, our kids began to consume everything that was there. All the food there was consumed. So we didn't have all of it ready, but we had some of it ready. Friends, my in-laws purchased a year ago a shelter. They paid almost 100,000 shekels for a shelter to come and sit in their garden. They have a private home in Sufim, and they had a shelter. They have now a shelter in their backyard. It's also an extra room. So this is how they explain themselves. It's not so bad that they brought a shelter. It's also an extra room if needed. But this is the sight. This is what we have. This is the notion people had. And then the 12 days war started, and like this, all the fear and all the scary parts and all the nightmares and all the issues we had to face all those years, for 40 years we're waiting for this day. Do you realize what I'm talking to you? It's a big bad wolf that we were scared of, and it became to be a small little puppy. That's what we had in mind. So after facing this, and of course America entering the war in the end with the missiles of the nuclear power, now the biggest questions we have in mind, what's next? I see Mary and my friend sitting there. She's also asking herself, what's next? As we spoke about 2 weeks ago, if Gaza is done, Hezbollah is done, Syria is done, Lebanon is done, Hezbollah, Iran is done, we have those Yemenites, the Houthis, who still continue. You need to give it to them. Once a day, once in 2 days, they throw missiles. I don't know what's happening there, but they're doing their part. All of Israelis are asking themselves, what's next? And surely you understand what happens right now in Washington, D.C. is what's next. So you saw the photos, and you saw the images, and you saw the videos. Last night, Benjamin Netanyahu and his wife Sarah. There's always there's oh there's always a lot of criticism about how Sarah is everywhere he goes. I must say I never saw it, but this time in the photo I just saw, it's a table with all the officials. You know their names, and they're like, Sarah is sitting there. It's like a bit okay. I don't know. Yeah, maybe it's important for her to be there, but let's give her the benefit of the doubt. She needs to enjoy all the hard work of her husband. Let's give it to her. So they land in the US yesterday, and the way it goes is that we are looking at how we will end the story. How can we really open a new chapter in the Middle East? 2 weeks ago, or 3 weeks ago, in our last Zoom, the feeling was we're going into a total war. But it's fascinating to hear Arab speakers, Arabs who around the globe, basically. But I read in a beautiful, of course, a translation. I don't speak Arabic. One of the biggest scholars of the Palestinian regime posted on one of the biggest newspapers in Egypt, saying basically one sentence that explains all. Israel won. Hamas is defeated. Hezbollah is defeated. Iran is defeated. We need to understand what we cannot have the hopes and dream to attack them and destroy Israel. This is their claim now. You understand what it means? That for centuries already, they were looking into a system to really destroy Israel. The plans was there. We know that this plan that Hamas started on 7th of October was supposed to be joined by the Hezbollah and Iran. If they would do that, then they might actually be able to do so, to attack, to harm us heavily. I don't think they would ever be able to destroy us, but it could have been a real damage. Of course, there was a damage on the 7th of October, but nothing to compare of the reality of how it was finished. So you understand the sense that they now are talking about the fact we had the best opportunity to attack. Israel was asleep. Israel wasn't functioning. All the reasons. We did our best. Everybody joined. And we weren't able to do that. That's something that they realize now, that with war and arms and weapons, we won't be able to destroy them physically. So how will we destroy them? How will we change the narrative of what happened in the Middle East? And that's the next chapter. Right now on the table, the way we see it is an opportunity for a new Middle East that's going to come out of power and respect to the fact Israel exists on the land. And this is something that is almost unimaginable for Israelis. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't think we will become Switzerland. I don't think we will decide, okay, there's no more need for an IDF. We can, break all the barriers and all the obstacles and put down all the cameras that CFOAC has already given. I don't think it's the sense. But in a very deep way, deep inside, in the narrative of the Palestinians, they will understand that we tried the path of war and it just didn't work. And if it didn't work, we need to find a different solution. And right now, what we will see, it's a complete opposite of war. The biggest issue that America is going to face right now is with Israel is the Abraham Accords. Can you imagine? Right now, the conversation, right now, as we speak, is going to be about who are the countries that will join. We all know the two main names that are already on the table. Saudi Arabia, that's been there all the time, and now Syria. Syria is on the table. It's a crazy thing to imagine. Israelis are already dreaming about having hummus in Damascus. It's like a dream. We will drive. Pam, when you will be here the next visit, you'll be able to go on a bus and take a hummus on Damascus. Can you imagine? Maybe, I don't know. Don't wait with that. Wait, don't buy tickets yet. Wait. But if it's a possibility, Syria, Saudi Arabia, they're talking about other surprising names. They're talking about a party. Akabi says it's going to be a party. Trump says it's going to be a party. You know how they throw all these big words? Who knows? They might now consider Indonesia. That's a strong name of a country that might go into the Abraham Accords. Why not? Big, huge, the biggest country, Muslim country in the world, understands now that war won't work. Maybe we're going to work with them. If Dubai and 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 all the other countries that already have an agreement with Israel is working, and we are able to bless them, they're able to bless us. There's like relationship here. It can work maybe in other countries as well. But how would we finish the story in Gaza? This is the biggest question. And this is where I would say the Israel society is being divided the most. What's the story? So in the last government meeting 2 days ago, I don't know if you saw the report, there was a big report about one of the government members, Bezalel Smotrich, yelling at the not at the prime minister, at the chief of staff of the army. The chief of staff of the army, in one hand, is one of the ministers of the government, and this is where the obstacle is. We all know that we need the hostages back. There's not a question there. We need them back, and we need them back as soon as possible, because every day there is a torture. No doubts. We understand that Israeli forces will need to be close by in Gaza. We can't allow not being there soldiers to really secure the area and understand what's going on there. It's also facts. Where's the question is? The question is that right now, the way it looks, Hamas is doing everything possible to remain in power, meaning that they want them to sign an agreement with the Hamas, that the Hamas and their leadership is going to be, of course, in the front line of the leadership in Gaza. And Israel demands no more Hamas. We don't want to have anything with you. We don't want to be connected to you in any way. Hamas and their leadership needs to go somewhere else, a different country. They cannot stay in Israel. And this is where we're facing the divide. In one hand, the people, and it's been here for all the war, we always want to finish, make a deal, stop everything, have our hostages, and go home. Yes, it's true. But the other words say, if we are so close to finally finish the obstacle that's called Hamas, shouldn't we wait a bit? Shouldn't we do some more operations? Shouldn't we really see them go away and vanish from our life? And this is a very hard thing to say because we understand it means more war. And people in Israel, they don't want more war anymore. Today, this morning, 5 soldiers died in Gaza. Did you see? 5 young soldiers this morning. It's in the headlines in Israel. On Friday, 2 more. You know how many it is? 449 soldiers from the beginning of the war. Enough. I'm not even talking about the pressure and the soldiers. No, I read today, it's crazy, that, we have 3 years of mandatory service of the army, right? So there were soldiers who were drafted before the 7th of October. Let's say the 7th of October, 2022. And they were supposed to be dismissed after 3 years. And as the war continued, they told them, we're very sorry, you need to stay. Sign here, you're going to be paid, but you will stay in the army. And now they want to go to the Supreme Court to say, we can't handle it anymore. We need to go home. We're doing army for 4 years now. It's not fair. They have a point. I'm not even talking about the reservist. I'm talking about the notion that Israel is tired and we want to end this. And now the only question is in what line? Where will it stop? Will it stop with throwing away the Hamas, or right now sealing the deal, making a treaty, and bring our hostages back home, and the Hamas is still in power? We know, and we're afraid that if we will leave them around there, as we said before, I don't think they will try a 7 October again. but we know how they work. They will try to attack here and there, and they will find some original ways to hurt Israelis around them. And this is something that we cannot have. And the pressure between finishing everything and just let it go, or actually going into a process of continuing the war, which is
Is that
already
for me?
Say again?
Thank you.
Again. If you can mute yourself, Gordon, it will be helpful. This week is also a week where I came from a very interesting event. This is where I want to take the lenses outside of what happens in Israel to what happens in the world. Pam started with the horrible news from Australia. And we started, can you hear me? Yeah. We started off the week last week with the story of support of Israel. I was privileged to go into a summit in Washington, D.C. called CUFI, Christian United for Israel. This is an organization that is based in the U.S., led by Pastor John Hagee, who has officially, listen to this, 10 million members. 10 million members, supporters of Israel. And their event, honestly, is a carnival of support of Israel. More Israeli flags than you will see in Israel in the Independence Day. People that travel from all over the US to the summit in Washington, D.C., and only basically celebrates Israel. And I wanted to share a couple of thoughts from this. Number one, I spoke with Pastor Hagee, and I told him this. With 10 million members he has, he needs to do this. He needs to bring Israelis that doubt the support of Israel in the world to come and visit the summit. Just be there for 3 days. It's unbelievable, right? Because people are going to come and hug them and support them and pray for them and bless them. Just to be in that moment and understand that is something that it's not my first time. I think I've been there 6 or 7 times. To be in a night to honor Israel, and you hear the Israeli anthem and the American anthem and hundreds of flags for Israel, and people are crying. You're in this emotional roller coaster, and you understand, wow, people do care about Israel. And I said it many times. Like, that's the main goal of everything I say all the time. My friends, you need to understand. Vast majority of Israelis do not understand what are we doing here. The fact that our people from Australia, today it's people from Australia, later today we have a Zoom with the American folks. We have hundreds and thousands and millions of supporters of Israel. It's something that people in Israel, if they read the general media, they won't know. So I offered Pastor Hagee, we need to bring a delegation of the most pessimistic, sad people in Israel that always look at what happens in Israel and say, oh no, it's so bad, what a bad situation, that have no hope. We will bring them to DC and just do nothing. Just walk the aisles of the conference room and you will see people supporting you like nowhere else. And I want to share just a couple of insights. I actually did something interesting this year. It's a good idea. So you hear a lot of, it's like speakers and speakers and speakers. By the way, this is the biggest difference between Christians and Jews. I want to tell you this. I'll share with you. If you go to a Jewish summit, people during the talks are trying to walk the corridors, mingle with people, eat and buy stuff. The Christians of CUFI, they sit like school from the morning till the evening. They don't leave the room. They want to listen to every bite of information. So because I was sitting there the whole day and I was listening to the stories and the speakers, I recorded some of them. And I asked my friend ChatGPT to just translate of what happened there. So I want to share these words from Yechiel Leiter. Who knows who's Yechiel Leiter? Who knows? Yes, Ben. Unmute yourself and give an answer.
Yeah, I've seen him and I've heard him. Interesting. Always puts a little, usually, if it's one thing of, usually puts a bit of life in his discussions. So he's not boring.
Who is he? What's his position?
Hold on. If it's the one I'm thinking of, which I probably got him mixed up with someone else, if it's one I'm thinking of, he does reports, and he's also trying to bridge the gap also between Jewish and Christian followers. So that's the one I'm thinking of, the one I'm thinking of.
It's not true. Sarah here gave you the answer in the chat. Yechiel Leiter is the Israeli ambassador in the US. Yechiel Leiter. Yes, it's important to know him. He's in the photo. Today is in the photo. Let me see if I can bring it up for a second. Here. I'll show you. Just a second. There you go. Here. I'll share and I'll show you. Okay, can you see this? Can you see this newspaper? Here. How do we zoom? Here, maybe this. Here. No. Here. You see this person on the right? The first one on the right is Yechiel Leiter. Then you have Bibi Netanyahu, then Sarah, then Ron Dermer, then Yitzhak Hanegbi is the minister of, I don't know, negotiation, and after him, Yitzhak Fuchs is the secretary of the government. On the other side, we have Mike Huckabee, the ambassador from the US, and of course Trump, and what's his name? Rubio, Marco Rubio. Yeah. So this is Yechiel Leiter. Yechiel Leiter is the ambassador to the US, a religious guy, wears a kippah. He's from Eli originally, was my neighbor. But the most important thing about him, the sad story is that his son Moshe, a reservist with 5 children, died during the war, was killed in an operation in Gaza during the war. And he comes now, and in every opportunity he has, he speaks, and he say, I'm representing Israel, but I'm also representing my son Moshe. Moshe had 5 children. He was 39 years old, and he was almost about to finish his medical school in the University of Ariel. And I want to share with you what he shared in the assembly. After 2 weeks of brutal, relentless combat, day and night, Moshe and his team reached a moment they had been fighting for. 3 of his men were with him. 5 more were just on the other side of the wall. Hamas had laid a trap, a massive explosive hidden around the precious tower they had come to recover. But the story was that they went to search for the hostages, dead hostages, and they found them in a tunnel. And in the home where the pier, where the entrance to this tunnel was, later on the explosive will be. They found, and Moshe was filled with joy. He took the radio, his face lit with that unforgettable smile. If you never saw Moshe's smile, you never saw a real smile. And he spoke his final words. We found the tunnel. Shabbat Shalom. May it be a Sabbath of peace. Shabbat Shalom. Then came the explosion. A blast so powerful, it tore through his body and those of his brothers in arms. Moshe and his team on one side, his lower torso gone. 5 soldiers on the other side, each of them losing their legs. And still, he finishes Do I question every single morning? Do I keep going? Do I keep living? It's a question that may never fully go away. But in the darkness, I go back to something Moshe once told me, something that helped me find strength. It was early in the training. He had just returned home for Shabbat after marching 15 hours through the desert, carrying 65 to 70 kilos on his back. He was exhausted. I looked at him and asked, Moshe, how do you do it? How is your knee doesn't give in, that your back doesn't break? And with that same grin, he told me, I developed a pattern, a secret pattern. I laughed. Come on, Moshe. I'm being serious. But so was he. He said, no, Abba. I really mean it. I add weight. Add weight? What are you talking about? He looked at me and said, I carry more than my gear. I carry the hopes and the prayers of my Babis and Zaidi, my grandmother and grandfathers. I carry their dream. I put them on my shoulder, and that's what keeps me going. That was Moshe. His strength wasn't just in his body. It came from the generational behind him, from the legacy of faith and love that he carried into every battle. And now, that's what we carry. The hopes, the prayers, the dreams, they won't weigh us down. They hold us up forever. There wasn't a single eye not wet at that moment. In Kufi, you need to understand, very American of them, they stand to cheer every 2 minutes. And with this kind of a speaker, I think it took him a 20-minute talk, maybe an hour and a half. That every sentence he said, they stopped and just applaud. Other than this personal story, Yechiel Leiter, he was a very important speaker, in my opinion, because he is really there in the back office where everything happened. And I want to share with you another thought he said. He talked about the fact that he knows that when he comes to the negotiations and when he talks with Trump and with any person in the government, he knows that when he says the people of Israel, it doesn't only mean the people of Israel. He says that he knows that when he comes to Trump and his people and he talks about the people of Israel, he also talked in the name of the millions supporting Israel. Why it was so important for him to emphasize this? He managed to describe the fact that one of the greatest points in history right now is the fact that Israel knows that it doesn't stand alone. And the friendship with Trump is not only friendship with the people, it's also a friendship with the government. We have a friend in the White House. I don't know how this day is going to end, and I'm sure in a couple of hours we're going to hear news. But if you ask me, until the weekend, we will see the hostages coming back home. And we will see a nomination for Trump to get a Nobel Prize for Peace. It's very important for him. And we will see how we will be able to still remain in Gaza in our forces. And we will see Saudi Arabia, and we will see Syria, and maybe other countries joining the Abraham Accords. And we will see the beginning, and this is something that you need to listen very, very strong. The 2 months ago, when Trump talked about relocating people from Gaza, and everybody laughed. Everybody said it's not possible. Who would consider such a thing? According to what I hear, although nobody talks about it in the media, there are real people working on that solution. And now they're talking about 4 to 5 countries that had agreed to receive immigrants from Gaza. Now, I don't know how it's going to play, but think of a possibility that it will actually happen. And if it will happen, I want to segue to something that we published yesterday. I had a discussion with Pam. So yesterday it was published in the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal that there's a family of sheikhs from Hebron that came to Israel and talked about the fact that they want to be separated from the Palestinian Authority. Because we have different cities in Israel, they said, we in our city of Hebron, we control. We are the sheikhs, we are the mayors, we are the family, the strong family in charge. Allow us to take responsibility on the city. We don't want to make war anymore. We want to make peace. We respect you, Israel. We know you're in charge. Allow us to take responsibility. Separate us from the way you negotiate with the rest of the Palestinian Authority. And let's talk between us. And the reason why it was published yesterday on Telegram, because Sandra, a couple of years ago, went to that meeting with this sheikh, El Jabri family. Now, I shared with Pam that I'm not sure about this so much. Let's put it this way. I have a lot of doubts about this ability to make peace with his family, but I want to play with the idea. The Middle East and Judea and Samaria and Israel was always facing this horrible question that I started with. What's next? How we will solve the issue? How we will solve the fact that we are surrounded by 1 million or 2 million of Arabs? I just gave you two options. Wild options, maybe. Weird, maybe. But they are real options. If we will talk about relocating Palestinians outside of Israel with their own will to open and start a new life somewhere else, or we will start a conversation with families, tribes, or cities in Judea and Samaria that will say, we want to do something different, could it be an option for a solution? I can tell you this. If you saw my last week or this week weekly portion, you saw a different face of Shmuel. I must say, I went through a trauma. Let's put it this way. I'm finishing with it because it's such a disturbing story. If I would start with this, I wouldn't be focused to talk this whole conversation. So that's the reality. We have supporters all over the world. You're the first group that I'm ever sharing this story with. So this is like news. Last November of 2024, I went to one of our supporters who lives in Texas. I entered the room. He's an older guy, and he's been donating nicely to CFOAC. He really cares about Judea and Samaria. And I went to the room, to his home, under an influence of a very personal other story. A friend of mine lost his son in the war. Ivrit Dickstein was married 1 year, and it was just published a photo of him and his wife. So I was under this influence. I entered his home, and he asked me this question. Shmuel, given the fact that somebody wants to help Israel, what is the most important and crucial thing that Israel needs right now? Now, you know me. You know our work in CFOIC. We are all about Judea and Samaria. We are here to help and protect and support the communities of Judea and Samaria. But at that moment, when I faced him, what I had in my heart was the photo of the son of my friend with his young wife. So I told this guy, his name is Ron, Told him, the honest truth, it's not my work, but it tears me apart to think about the orphans and the widows in Israel. It's not something that I'm dealing with, but I cannot stand the fact that there's so many orphans and widows in Israel. So my friend Ron said, just before you entered, I said to myself and to God, if Shmuel is going to talk with me about orphans and widows, I will do something huge with him. I laughed because it's not my work. I never do those kind of things. I don't know what brought me into even talking about orphans and widows, other than this personal thing I had in mind. So we started a conversation of how we help the orphans and the widows. I'm not going to go to the whole length of the story, but I understood something needs to be done. And if you know CFOIC, if you know me, I don't like to waste time and money and energy of things that other people do. If other people do it, they should do it. If there's a need, there's a real need, we will be there. I didn't want to go into a space where everybody else is already doing. So I told him, Ron, I'm not going to waste your time, money, and energy. Let me research it. And the truth is, I don't have time to research. So I gave it to my wife. My wife just finished her PhD, and she's a doctor. She's into education. She knows how to research, and she really cares about Israel, maybe even more than I do. She's like a real passionate person and supporter of Israel, like many others, but that's her thing. So we understood a couple of things about orphans and widows, and we presented to him. I'm going to make the story short. We thought that the best way to really make an impact and change is this. Listen to this. There are so many amazing organizations and movements and groups in Israel that do so much to empower Israel. And the biggest thing Israel has today, the one word every person in the world can say about Israel is that they have what? You're all
Courage.
muted, so you just
Courage.
courage, more. Courage is a good word, but more sophisticated word.
Tenacity.
Uzba.
This is too sophisticated.
Resilience.
Resilience. Yes. If there's one thing Israeli has, is resilience. To be honest, there's not a nation in the world that went through what Israelis are going in the last 75 years. The wars, the obstacles. I'm talking, forget about the history. Only modern day Israel, what we went through. It's not even a movie. It's like a trilogy. It's not normal. And yet the people of Israel are strong and courageous, and they have resilience. I think we are the country, the only country in the world that with all this madhouse that we're going on in here, people are still moving. People are making aliyah to come here. Think about it. Now, people would think, oh, yes, but there are also miserable countries, I don't know, in Asia, in Africa, yes. But this is a place that we are choosing to live in. It's not that we unfortunately were born here. We are making a move to live here out of our own will. So we wanted to establish the Ron Resilience Center in the University of Ariel. It's a university in Judea and Samaria, and we thought that the biggest vision and legacy that could happen is that if we will take the ingredient for resilience, research about it, and really share it to the world. We say the verse, Ki mitzion titzeh Torah, from Zion, Torah will be spread to the world. This is also Torah, how to show and make resilience in communities and people, and share this knowledge to the world. He loved the idea. The university loved the idea. We already had an agreement. And this is where the sad story happens. This Tuesday, while I was on my way to his home in Texas, I got the awful, horrible message. You can imagine that the answer is going to say he died. But the sad story is he was murdered. He welcomed to his home a relative that had psychotic whatever. They entered a fight, and this sweet, righteous 78 years old person who had amazing life was stabbed to death. And I got the message literally 3 hours before I was supposed to land in his home. So when I recorded this message that night, I was shocked. I was amazed. I was sad. The word shocked is the best word to describe it. This is a friend. This is somebody that we spent hours. I brought my wife to his home to plan this. We really were able to execute it. You want to know the numbers? He was pledging $1 million for the University of Ariel to make this center on his name. And the poor guy was murdered. What's the message? First of all, is what I said on Friday about this weekly portion. All in his hands. Whatever you plan, in his hands. But I want to say this as well. We need to remain with questions. I tried, and I'm trying all the time to tell us that we know what's going to happen. And Trump is going to do this, and Bibi is going to do that, and Iran. And we're trying to manipulate the world and try to understand. And friends, sometimes we need to raise our hands in the air and to say, we don't understand. We don't know everything. We know one thing. God has his plans. And we need to be surrendering ourselves, believing in him, and having the faith that everything that happens for a reason. That's exactly the belief. Believe is not knowing, is to believe that really everything is planned, everything happens for a reason. We are still shocked. It's a great loss for me as a friend, for his family, a righteous person. Really, I'm telling you, you don't meet people like that. He would call me and thank me every week for the opportunity I gave him to help Israel. Such a righteous person. I lost a friend. We lost a partner and a lover for Israel. And I'm sure his memory is being blessed right now because all his life, he was just there helping and caring for others. And unfortunately, he was brutally murdered. It is a painful moment for us. And yet we know that everything happens for a reason. My thoughts this week are one, the hope of the families of the hostages at this moment, since the 7th of October, are in their peak. I hope and I pray and I believe that in the next few days, we will see them returning to their homes. That's where my mind is right now. Going back to the hostages and going back to the orphans and the widows that I told Ron, there's some things that are more than what you have in mind. This is what I have in my heart. So I wish and I hope all of us are praying together for their fast return. Put all the things in the side for a second. Let God make some work here and do what it needs to do, but let those kids go back home. It's been way, way, way too long. Pam, I know that I forgot a lot of the issues I was supposed to talk about. I was carried away by this emotional roller coaster. I hope you will forgive me and not fire me this time.
I think you did well, Shmuel, and how interesting that I opened with praying for the children. So we need the hostages to be coming home. So, yes, it's a lot to take in, and our hearts go out for Ron, even though we don't know him instantly. Our hearts are with his family and with the situation, and with you, Shmuel, and your wife. It's our words aren't enough, but our hearts are with you. And I guess what we would do is open up for questions or comments. If you have a question or a comment for Shmuel, yes, put your electronic hand up. Yes. Hi, Anne.
Shmuel, always questions. I was told as a child, don't ask questions, so I'm making up for time. As an Australian, I'm so ashamed to be an Australian. Our government is wicked. It's anti-Semitic. What happened in Melbourne to the Jewish people is an abomination. Those two nurses in Sydney, just 2 months suspension. They should be on criminal charges, jailed. Our government makes us very ashamed, but we want you to know in Israel that just like in America, there's people that love you. And I don't know who voted for our government. I don't know how they got in there, but they got in there, and we're all suffering terribly. But we love you in Israel. So not all of Australia stinks and is anti-Semitic, and we just love you guys. Now down to the question is about sovereignty in Judea and Samaria. Would this be a big one on the coming table between President Trump and Netanyahu?
Everybody asked this question. I must say that in life, I had an argument with my rabbi a couple of days ago about it, actually. There are a limited amount of favors you can ask somebody. I think at this moment, between the balance of what Bibi asked and what Trump asked, Bibi is here, Trump is here. Meaning, we owe him more than he owes us. I think in a very technical, cold way, I would think that we have 3.5 years of government to Trump. I would think that at this moment, after the bombard of the nuclear power, we won't ask for anything at this moment. If you ask me, I'm not sure, but I think I can predict that Bibi won't ask this huge thing from him. The only way it will happen, and I think there is a way it will happen, is that if we will continue the steps towards the Abraham Accords, it will come to a point that the Arab countries around us will try to even force the Palestinian Authority to come into some kind of a conclusion or a situation or solving the problem that will come from them. You understand what I'm saying? One way, ask them, okay, we want to do sovereignty. I don't think it's going to ask. But if it's going to continue the way it continues, I think more countries are going to join into this Abraham Accords party, and we will see forces and pressure into a solution here with the Palestinian that will also include naturally some sort of sovereignty in the land. That's my prediction. Now, of course, I hope maybe I'm wrong and he will say, no, we need sovereignty now, and in the next week we're going to see great solutions. I don't see it happening, but we always can pray. We know nothing, huh? That's the conclusion from today.
Very good. Thank you.
More?
Thank you, Anne. Yes, there is couples that I'm here that I haven't met yet. So please, if you have a question or a statement, please let us know. So Lyndall, good to see you.
Thank you, Pam. Thanks, Shmuel, for what you've said already tonight. My question, I seem to have been reflecting back today, knowing we were having this meeting tonight, in terms of Ukrainian people who had been settled in Israel once the war between Ukraine and Russia started. Are you able to give us any update? I seem to remember that they were perhaps having difficulty settling in, and there was a general sense that they would wait until the war finished and then go straight back to Ukraine. Can you give us any updates on the sense for that community and what they might be thinking at this point?
The truth is that I have very limited knowledge about them because most of them didn't settle in one place. It's not like we have like one place that all of them went. Everybody was for their own. They had a family member here, they had somebody they knew there, and they tried to settle different places. I did hear that many of them tried to go back home. Funny enough, you can think about it that who would want to go to a war zone? But I think it's like Israel, to be honest. When you are here, you don't really feel that you're in a war zone, although you are in a war zone. So in a way, if you ask me, a lot of them return home. That's what I read. I can tell you on a personal note, I know a couple of them who did move to Samaria to a new refugee compound, whatever you want to call it, neighborhoods in Revava, not far from here. I know them, I meet them several times, and they love it here. They enjoy themselves, they live here in Samaria, and they really found home. When you come, I will show you, I would gladly connected you, because they're amazing. One of them, named Shmuel, like me, is now in the coffee business. Not like me, very sad. He is now making and roasting his own coffee here in Samaria, and he's selling it throughout Israel. He doesn't know any Hebrew, he has decent English, but it's great. So people did settle in. I think generally a lot of them just returned or looking, as you said, to an opportunity to go back home. And I would say in a very simple way, we talked about it many times. It's really, really hard to be an immigrant. It's really hard to move to a new home. It's really hard to establish a place that's not your home to be your home, especially when you're forced out because of war. It wasn't their decision. They loved to stay there, but something happened and they had to run away. All those reasons together, if you ask me, tells you that it's not easy and they don't have the power to continue to live in Israel without their own, I would say, will.
Yeah, and that's a really good question because with all of the protection that Hashem gives Israel from all the rockets compared to the devastation that's happening in the Ukraine from Russia, do you think the Ukrainian Jews would feel more safe in the land of Israel?
Even if you feel very comfortable in your land, but it's not yours and you don't speak the language and you have the regular obstacles, let's put it this way. If you're getting missiles in a place you know, in a place you don't know, you prefer to get them in a place you know. As simple as that. This is human behavior. Ben can tell you, he visited Israel. And I can tell you during the war, it is really different when you are visiting. There are a lot of elements that you're not sure of what happens around you. It's difficult. It's challenging. So if you ask me, they prefer to be back home. I think so.
Thank you, Shmuel, and my condolences on the loss of your friend, and may his memory be for a blessing. Thank you.
Yes. Yes. Any other questions? Anyone else would like to make a comment?
So, Pam, I will take advantage that nobody answered fast. This is today the summer break. It started July 1st, and it means I have 3 daughters who are finishing camp at 1 o'clock, which is right now. I need to run home to take care of them. So I hope we can stop here and pray for me that I will manage another afternoon with my daughters. Today, and all the blessings and all the merit will be in the name from my friend Ron, which is going to blessed memory. Thank you.